Okay, then I think we will crack on. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Finance Director webinar special. I'm here with James, a Microsoft Modern Workplace specialist, and today we're going to be looking at how Business Premium can allow for your business to be more secure and more compliant. And how this route can enable you to spend perhaps a little bit more wisely when it comes to your IT budget. For example, you may know or you may not know that you're spending a lot more on third-party apps when actually going for a more native route with Microsoft may actually save you more money, make things a lot less complex, but much more secure. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat or the Q&A box, or ask your account manager after the session. This session is being recorded, which we sent to you afterwards. Otherwise, I will hand over to James. Thanks, James.
Amazing. Thanks very much, Vicky. And, thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. As Vicky said there, Finance Director special we're doing here today all around Business Premium and a smarter use of your IT budget. So I'm going to jump straight in and kick things off with a little bit of an agenda for you all. Going to start off with a bit of a strategic overview, why the Business Premium piece matters and aligning the IT investment with kind of a financial strategy aspect, financial impacts of this, risk management and compliance, and then some kind of real world value, some next steps for you there, some use cases and things like that we've pulled away. There is a lot more case studies and things that are available besides what we showed today, but if you want to see them, we can follow up with that afterwards for you. But yeah, I'll get things going. So I am James Graves, a modern workplace specialist. Basically what that means is I just live and breathe everything that sits in Microsoft 365, the AI Copilot solution, and kind of the surrounding programs and things that Microsoft offer around that. I've been doing this for about 5 years now and various other things before that kind of relate to the Microsoft ecosphere as well. So kicking things off with why Business Premium matters. So risks and concerns is kind of where we wanted to start off with this for you all. So this is basically just almost laying the scene a little bit, shall we say, on why Business Premium is so important. And it comes into the fact that it brings over a lot of security and data security features as well. But to position this from UK SMBs, we found a lot of SMBs have a false sense of protection, a false sense of security, shall we say, when it comes to the mindset of we won't be attacked, we're too small, they don't care about us. And this is a thing that we hear on a regular basis from businesses all over the country. And the reason that people think that is the case is because they believe that these cyber criminals will be going after the big enterprises that have, in most cases, more cash flow, deeper pockets, and the availability, shall we say, to pay ransomware style attacks and the ransoms associated with them. So this kind of creates that false sense of protection. The honest answer is that it couldn't actually be further from the truth. And the reason that we kind of say that is because larger enterprises you will tend to find have the financing, the abilities, the means to be able to implement far stronger cybersecurity policies and product sets, which mean that they are more difficult to attack. As a consequence of that, it means that these businesses, these cyber criminals, have to put more time, more effort, and more resource into these types of attacks. And again, you very much need to think of these cyber criminals now as not single individuals sat in the basements and things as they're portrayed in the movies. These are active, large-scale organizations now within certain countries where they will literally have a HR department, a marketing team, a sales team. It's mind-boggling to think of them like that, but these are businesses now. They're not individuals that are just targeting companies at will. And these organizations target SMBs because, as we said, they're easier targets because they more often than not don't have the cybersecurity policies, the cybersecurity features, functionality, and product sets that can protect them as an entity. So hitting several small SMBs will equate to hitting a single enterprise business. And quite often as well, you are not the intended target. You are literally a means and a ways of attacking the bigger target, and they will go through you to hit the larger organizations. And that causes more than just financial damage. That comes with brand damage, an image and brand image and things like that can be affected as a consequence of that. The recent Marks and Spencer's attack being a prime example where they went through a third party to make that attack on Marks and Spencer's, and as I'm sure you'd probably expect, they probably no longer do business with that smaller third party that was the ways and means of them reaching out and doing that attack. So there is a false sense of security there within the SMBs, and it's important to understand that you may not be the intended target, and these businesses do target SMBs purely because you are an easier target than the enterprises. So rising and unexpected costs of a cyber attack. So this comes down to some of the bits I've just mentioned, funnily enough, around that false sense of security, which is all around, this goes beyond just the financial impact, that initial ransomware fee that you may have to pay to get your data back. This comes with bigger impacts on productivity, future opportunities, reputation damage. So it's a really negative long-term effect that you will see off the back of this. And it tends to then stem into other aspects which are more intangible in these scenarios, which can be fines associated with data breaches that can come from the likes of GDPR compliance and things of that nature. So again, not properly protecting that data and information. The cyber attack that takes that information can come with the fines from various different parties, and fines associated with various different legislation for different industries. So again, there is a lot more intangible aspects to this than people do often look at. We also have on there increasing operational challenges. Now, when it comes to the Microsoft 365 Business Premium stack, we look at this operational challenges aspect because buying multiple products from multiple vendors kind of creates a scenario where the left arm doesn't know what the right arm's doing because the products can't talk among one another. And that's kind of one of the ways of looking at this, but also from a daily management and deployment perspective of these tools as well. You also have the scenario where you're having to set people up in potentially several different administrative portals. You're obviously having to manage different landscapes for your email security versus your endpoint security, versus just the general network policies, etc., for identities that you have in place. So it's really, really important that obviously you understand that there is an increasing operational challenge with buying several different products and bringing them into a single ecosphere. And as you'll see over the coming slides, the Microsoft 365 Business Premium license gives you all of these capabilities that you would need as a starting point, and brings it all together for you. So just to kind of a couple of stats for you all here now, just to kind of look at this as we start talking about the licenses in a little bit more depth. Just kind of wanted to position this as, kind of a bit of a mindset piece for you. So the payback period on products and solutions like Business Premium, as we dive into these, 223% is the return on investment over 3 years, with a payback period of less than 6 months, which is brilliant to see. Means that if you go and invest in products like Microsoft 365 Business Premium, the potential gains and things you can get from smoother onboarding processes, increased productivity from the additional tools you've got, the additional training that can be brought into place for staff members so that they can be upskilled to utilize all the pieces and the features within their Business Premium product stack, means that you can get the ROI on these products really, really quickly in terms of the payback points for them. The other bit that is often overlooked as part of the Business Premium licensing is that there is a lot of intangible parts of the license that people don't talk about. Microsoft to-do lists. You can look at the Viva product stack, which brings in learning management solutions for you. There's also things in there such as bookings, Shift, and so on and so forth, which are quite often products that people pay additional costs for from third-party solutions, such as CRM systems and things like that, and they're actually built into your core licensing today. So it's things that you can utilize and potentially knock some of these third-party products off as a part of that. When it comes to some of the compliance aspects in the Microsoft Purview suite, globally and industry-specific compliance standards, the Microsoft portal supports over 300 of those different global and industry compliance standards. So again, the ability for you to utilize the Business Premium tools to meet the compliance standards of your industry, your geography where you are placed globally, means that it has the ability to support that in terms of tick box exercising and reporting and auditing tools to go with that. 60% can be saved through consolidation of IT tools compared to multi-vendor environments. That touches on some of the bits we've already spoken about there of bringing all of these tools into a single license rather than multiples in there. And there's a really interesting piece from the Forrester Total Economic Impact Studies, which basically went through $17.8 million in benefits basically to SMBs that are kind of deploying these solutions and the ROIs for the organizations, etc., that are associated with them. So again, it's worth a look, but that's just kind of an overarching number, shall we say, that Microsoft have got there with the Forrester report around several businesses that were studied for that kind of cost savings and benefits. So again, really, really powerful set of tools you've got here, not just for the security perspective, but also from the compliancy and the potential cost savings aspect you can bring into the equation. And then to touch on kind of alignment with strategic goals here for you all and continuing down that track. So the Microsoft 365 Business Premium product kind of follows a very similar process as to what you're looking at here, and it gives you the capability to do these aspects as part of your business operations, shall we say. We have the risk reduction first within that list, and risk reduction is very much looking at it's plugging the gaps that you have there in terms of your existing cybersecurity infrastructure that may be in place. Let's look at this as endpoint protection, ensuring it's on every single device. You have device management aspects to make sure that the devices are managed and compliant. If that mobile phone gets left on a train, you have the ability to remote wipe it, remote lock that device, and make sure that your data remains secure in kind of any of those eventualities. It then moves on to the cost optimization piece. The bringing together of all of these Microsoft 365 solutions means that it allows you to bring the cost association down with the cost of doing business, shall we say, as a part of this. So when we say that, it's basically knocking off some of those potential third-party products and consolidating that into a single license. And the slide we've got coming up over the next couple does a really good job, shall we say, of showing you the differentiators there of competitor products versus the Microsoft 365 Business Premium aspect. We've also got digital transformation. I don't know if anybody on the call has any kind of on-site infrastructure still, maybe some sort of file server that you may have there, or data server. You may have a traditional style Active Directory server on site and things of that nature. Again, pretty common. The Business Premium license allows you to continue with that digital transformation aspect by bringing that traditional style on-site file server and putting it into the cloud environment with your SharePoint, with your OneDrive tools that are included in Business Premium. And also, your Active Directory that may be on site still, you can bring that into the cloud using the Microsoft Entra ID license that's included in your Business Premium. And that would allow, as a consequence of that, for you to manage all of your identity and access tools from within the cloud. And I know some people are a little bit hesitant on that, but with the large drive that we're seeing now for people to go into the world of AI solutions, bringing your data into the cloud is kind of a huge piece of that. And Microsoft has some really good programs along with the team here at Cobweb that we can do for you, where it will allow you to look at going from your on-premises solutions and bringing that data into the cloud. And that's basically an assessment that's called Dark to Cloud that was recently released by Microsoft. So again, tools are there to help you do this sort of thing and bring your data into the cloud, shall we say, and into the 21st century almost. Looking at operational efficiency next on that list for you. So the operational efficiency comes back to partially the cost optimization piece as well. They do cross over quite a bit there, but for operational efficiency, it is talking about being able to onboard people a lot smoother, people to be able to use the same productivity tool, people being able to collaborate across the same solution, and basically effortlessly is the idea behind this. You want people to be able to collaborate across documents, being able to collaborate within meetings, whiteboarding sessions, whatever that may be. The operational efficiencies increase drastically because of people's ability to do more productivity, and in the background, being able to onboard in a smoother way, being able to manage your users, manage your data in a more effective manner. And that pushes us on now to the data-driven decision-making aspect. When you have all the information, all the data about your users, the usage rate that they've got for all of the different products, who's getting the most out of it, who isn't, do we need to do more training to make sure people can be as productive as physically possible? But also this kind of delves back a little bit into the whole employee retention aspect as well. If people don't know these tools exist and they're not using these tools, as a consequence of that, they could potentially be an employee that may leave because they're stressed with their workloads, and it's bringing that ability to make data-driven decisions within your business around usage rates, etc., that we've just discussed, and that reporting and auditing piece is really, really powerful. So next up, financial value and cost optimization piece. Sorry, we'll touch on those points really briefly here now. So consolidation from multiple tools into a single subscription. As I said, this does a bit of a better job, shall we say, of covering off some of the parts we were discussing there. So the tower you see in the center there is kind of all of the core aspects you would need for your business in order to, should we say, have the minimum level requirements of cybersecurity standards from a Microsoft perspective here. So customer needs single sign-on, conditional access and multi-factor authentication, endpoint security in there with your antivirus protection, your EDR. EDR is known as endpoint detection and response, and those are the tools that basically take action when you're not actively sat on your computer in the event that somebody does try and attack your system. Device management, which is all around managing that device. As I said earlier, you leave it on a train, for instance, they have the ability to remote wipe it, remote lock that device. You can ensure devices are kept up to date, they're patched, and everything else that you need as a part of that. Productivity apps and file storage, that's your traditional Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and your file storage coming from your SharePoint and your OneDrive, and then your chat-based collaboration tools. Think of that as your Microsoft 365 Teams environments within there. So these are all what we see as the requirements for productivity, storage, and security within those requirements. So as you'll see on the left-hand side there, if we was to buy these products from third parties, let's say we were using Google Workspaces, we was using other third-party products like Vade and Zoom and things of that nature, you'd be looking at approximately over £33 per user per month, dependent on terms and things of that nature, versus Microsoft's 365 offering with Cobweb, which basically makes it so it's $17.75. It's an approximate cost, again, depending on your term and payment methods and things, for the same tools that are available there. So it's nearly twice the price by buying various ad hoc third-party solutions versus Microsoft's 365 Business Premium license, which bundles all of that capability into a single license, single management portal. So it's not just the direct cost saving of that license, it's also all of the administrative savings that come as a consequence of that as well. So again, intangible parts that are often overlooked by some people in that decision-making process here. And then just tucking on to kind of the long-term savings and that predictability aspect of this as well. Obviously, if you've got several different vendors that you're buying these products from, it means you've got several different agreements and several different relationships to manage as a part of that as well. And that could obviously come with different contract terms, which means that you can potentially have rolling 30 days contracts, which means that prices could jump up at any time. Maybe a case of you have various different renewal dates as a part of that as well. Again, coming back to that difficulty of managing aspect of this. So the predictable monthly cost factor of Microsoft 365 Business Premium means that you can obviously, in most instances, lock your pricing in for a 12-month period, ensuring that you know exactly what you're going to be forecasting for in terms of your costings over a 12-month period. So it's fixing that monthly cost, month in, month out as a part of those tools that are available for you. Again, coming back to easier forecasting, easier budgeting as a part of that. You do also have the scalability factor in there as well. So although you may be tied into a monthly contract term, you can, as your business grows, increase your license count as a consequence of that. So as you have new starters, you can bundle them in at that same price and within that same renewal period term. You don't have to sign a separate contract when you bring somebody in halfway through the year, for example. You also have the low total cost of ownership, which we've kind of just touched on there already across the various slides we've already been through, but we're eliminating redundant third-party tools such as antivirus. In some cases, that may include VPNs, back to your traditional on-site servers. It doesn't totally relinquish the requirements for a backup solution. It's still very, very much recommended that you do have a Microsoft 365 backup tool, such as Acronis. So while it doesn't eliminate it and make it redundant, we do recommend a backup solution is still in play there for you. Reduces IT maintenance and support costs. And that's all because of the centralized management and administration aspect of this. If any of you have ever been in your Microsoft 365 admin centers, you will know that all of your admin centers sit in one area. You don't have to log into multiple different platforms to manage any of these solutions. The built-in security and compliance features basically avoid any costly breaches, the fines, etc. associated with them that we touched on earlier. And the cloud-based infrastructure minimizes the hardware refresh cycles. You will never have to replace that Active Directory server that you have on site, that traditional file server that you have on site. Microsoft's cloud-based infrastructure takes care of all of that for you. And it is, like I say, all hosted in the UK in Microsoft data centers, which are based in London, and the other one I believe is Cardiff, in what they call the Southwest region for them. So again, data centers remain in the UK, again, not affecting any kind of local requirements in the UK for your data residency regulation requirements. So moving on to enhanced security, and the risk mitigation aspect here. So the big piece that comes from Business Premium is the security and the data security aspects here. And to kind of touch on for you first, a piece of the overarching Microsoft 365 Business Premium license is a product that's called Microsoft Defender for Business, which is what's included in that Business Premium license. And basically what this is doing for you is providing security onto the devices, your endpoints, wherever they may be in the world, shall we say, for instance. So if you have employees that are working remotely from coffee shops, airports, train stations, working from home, whatever that may be, their endpoints, those devices still remain protected as a part of that. And it's protecting them by doing these 5 pieces here, which, as we mentioned earlier, is part of that EDR, that extended detection and response piece in here. And as you'll see, the bits on the screen there may not completely make sense to all of you on the call with us today, but I like to kind of break this into a bit of an analogy around like building protection is the easiest way of us looking at it. You imagine your laptop, your PC on your desk is a building. And it starts on the left-hand side with your threat and vulnerability management. This is basically doing a building assessment. Do we have windows? Do we have doors? Is there a wall that's fallen down? It's basically looking for any potential entry points into the device that somebody could use as a method of breaking in. So it's got to find those gaps and assess those gaps as part of its management piece. You then have what's called the attack surface reduction, which is about filling those gaps in once they exist. That's reducing the number of potential attack vectors into your building, into your device. So you can very much imagine this as well as, there's no broken windows, the door isn't hanging off its hinges, those sorts of scenarios here. It's checking that there's locks in places as on those windows, and nobody could just enter quite easily, shall we say. Next generation protection. So this is literally what's doing the active protection of your building, of your device. Again, with the building analogy, look at this as the lock on the front door for you. This is making sure nobody gets in through those primary points of entrance that you would be most susceptible to. We then move on to the endpoint detection and response. So worst case scenarios happened, somebody has broken into your device, into your building. The endpoint detection and response is then checking where are they going, what is it doing, and responding to that incident, alerting people that there's been a break-in, and also following on to your auto investigation and remediation, providing reporting of exactly what is taking place live for you, and then remediating that. Now, when we say remediating, that's basically getting them out of the system. We need to box them in, remove them from the environment entirely, and provide reporting on exactly where they've been and what they've done. Now, the beauty of this piece as well is for you, let's say, for instance, they've tried taking a load of documentation from a SharePoint file, and it's got a load of PowerPoint presentations in it, and those all become corrupted or encrypted documents. Microsoft Defender for Business has the capability to do something called a rollback, which is where it would put that back to a previous version for you from a little bit earlier in the day. So it would give you that versions of those documents back, so you wouldn't lose that data due to the encryption or due to the potential corruption of those files and folders as well. So fantastic capabilities there to ensure that come the following morning, if this happened during the night, come the following morning, businesses can operate as normal with very little disruption in the way of issues. Beauties of these: simplified onboarding and administration. Again, all these admin centres are managed from a singularised location, making things very easy and very efficient for that onboarding process. And they all tie into one another as well, which is fantastic. And this does come with the ability to work with APIs and integrations to other security products. That's not just Microsoft products, but that could be some third-party products as well. So in some instances, there is a lot of scenarios where people will run a SOC or an MDR style solution, which is like a security operations center, basically, that watches your infrastructure 24/7 with a live person and AI alongside that. And it can integrate into this to elevate your security features even further if you wanted to have the be all and end all, shall we say, of cybersecurity infrastructure in place. And again, if that's of interest, the Cobweb team can kind of talk those sorts of situations through with you and those sorts of products and tools that are available. So I've got a short video for you all now, so hopefully you'll all be able to hear this, but this is just going to look at something which is known as the Purview Compliance Manager, which is included in Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Now, in the Business Premium license, you get the very entry-level version to this solution. There is some add-ons and things that we'll be touching on in future webinars that can take this even further, but this will just give you a flavour for exactly what you'd get included and exactly what the capabilities are of this. Now, the Purview family of products is all around data protection and data compliance regulations, just to frame that all for you. But I'll play this video. It's only about 60 seconds long from Microsoft. And like I say, any questions you have during the video, feel free to drop them in the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer those at the end for you.
Staying compliant isn't easy. There are over 250 regulatory updates a day. It's hard to know how these updates affect your company. Not to mention that compliance departments are often understaffed and have outdated manual processes, costing your company time and money. But why should the old way be the only way? Introducing Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager. With just a few clicks, it shows you specific regulations that are important to your business's compliance. Continuous assessments help to eliminate blind spots with daily control testing. And we keep you in the know with real-time alerts and a compliance score that measures the health of your company's risk posture. Now, you can simplify compliance management in a single tool that works right out of the box. Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager.
So like I say, there is some really powerful tools that are available there for the actual compliancy manager aspect here. So the compliancy manager is a very, very strongly utilized tool over at Microsoft's end. And just continuing that conversation around the Purview capabilities here, and as I said, the Purview is a family of products that all sit around compliancy, but also sit around data protection, data loss prevention, and things of that nature that come alongside these. And a couple of really powerful tools that are included in Business Premium is something that's known as data loss protection and information protection as well. So when we say data loss prevention, this is all around ensuring that you can't be in a scenario where data can potentially be leaked to outside sources. So you can have a policy created in Microsoft 365, and that policy can be centered around, let's say, for instance, credit card numbers, maybe bank account numbers, sort codes, things of that nature. Passport numbers is another one that we see quite regularly. And in this scenario, you can basically have Microsoft, so that if me, as an employee in your business, created a, let's say, Microsoft Word document, Excel spreadsheet, something of that nature, and I start typing in here a lot of credit card numbers, names, sort codes, that sort of information into this document, what it will do is it will automatically recognize that information being inputted and label that document as being potentially highly confidential or for internal purposes only. As a consequence of that, it would basically mean that that document couldn't be shared outside of the business. It would prevent it from moving outside of your OneDrive and SharePoint environments, for instances, onto, let's say, for instance, attached to an email and sent to a client. It would stop that sort of activity from happening because that's confidential information that shouldn't be shared. So a really powerful set of tools. It has trainable information in there as well. So if there is unique data sets to you as a business, let's say a 6-digit Customer ID, you can train it to understand those 6-digit IDs. If you deal with US data or Australian data or, data from Europe, it has a library of these that already exist. So it can understand passport numbers from different countries. It can understand the difference between a social security number and an NHS ID number and things of that nature, to name a few. So powerful set of tools there. There is also the capability to do something that's known as information protection. So information protection will allow you to manually apply a label against a document. So let's say, for instance, I go away and create a sales or a marketing plan for Cobweb for 2026 in a planning session. And as a part of that, I can label that as internal purposes only, which means that if a colleague attempted to leave the business, and they took that document with them because they'd saved it on a little USB stick or they'd emailed it to their personal email address, that document would be useless. It was encrypted by putting that security label on it. And as a consequence of that, it would mean that they wouldn't be able to utilize that document outside of our corporate network, basically. So again, that data, that information becomes useless on the USB drive, the email, however it may have been sent, if we increase that information protection security label. So really powerful set of tools included there. There is also one that isn't on the screen here that I will mention, which is something that's called eDiscovery. eDiscovery allows you, for perhaps a legal case or a HR case, allows you to search for certain information within certain timeframes. Let's say a HR case had to happen between two individuals. It would allow you to go and look for correspondence between those two individuals, during maybe a 2-week period, for instance, and it would pull that information, collate it together and provide that to you for assessment, basically. Same for a legal case. If you needed to collate all the information around a particular customer, maybe, you can go away and search for that information within your Microsoft environment. On a whole, doesn't just look at you specifically, it looks at your entire tenant and information available to you as a part of that tool. So again, really powerful stuff, really important features that are available there with the upgrade to Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So there is another short video now, and this is just to kind of cover off some of the other parts of Business Premium that we haven't spoken about today. Again, only a couple of minutes long, so like I say, any questions, drop them in the Q&A, and again, we'll try and get to them at the end for you.
When viewing this film, please keep your company name and your product in mind.
Right now, 43% of cyber attacks are targeting businesses with less than 300 people. Now, I'm not very good at math. I'm great at math. So I know two things. Small and medium-sized businesses like yours not only account for 95% of the companies on Earth, they're also under constant attack. To combat these attacks, you need the best tools available. And that's where I come in. I'm your new Chief Security Officer. I'm here because there are over 1 million new cyber threats every day, and you've already got a full-time job keeping all the tech in your office running. But you say to yourself, at least the criminals are focusing their attention on the big corporations. I know I'm new here, but I'll be frank. You are so incredibly wrong. Every year, 55% of organizations your size are attacked. So if you weren't attacked last year, then statistically, I have some bad news about what's going to happen this year.
Gee, what a mess.
As your new Chief Security Officer, I want to tell you about a few things you can do to improve your security strategy right now. Your company needs to be secure, you need to collaborate, and you need to be mobile.
And it's all because of
Microsoft 365 Business Premium.
To learn more, check out some notes I prepared for you here.
So there is a really good series of videos there that you can watch around all the different aspects of the Microsoft 365 Business Premium stack. As a part of that, as you'll see, they're putting a little bit of a comedic spin on it slightly, shall we say, which is always good. But again, it'll cover off all the features and functions. If you are interested, you can obviously see those accordingly from the Microsoft YouTube channel. But just to continue here and hopefully over the next couple of slides, we'll be able to talk about some of the features that were mentioned in the video there. These are the core component parts that are included in Business Premium that we like to talk about. And it's these 6 parts that you see on the right-hand side here that make it what we call the hero SKU at Microsoft's end. And that is your Microsoft Entra ID. So Microsoft Entra ID is aimed all around your cyber security of identities. Now, when we say identities, that's your login credentials for you as an individual. So every time you log on the system, you are using Microsoft Entra ID, either in its paid or free form, to log in as a user. And as a part of that, you will have to meet a criteria to enter the system or be forced to MFA. And Microsoft Entra ID is what is managing all of those identities. Microsoft Intune, as we've discussed a couple of times, that's your device management tool. Is your device compliant? Can users bring your own device into the business? So you have the flexibility to have people using personal phones, personal laptops within your corporate framework, and also the ability to manage them just to make sure you're not going to face any potential data leaks or security risks because of that. Microsoft Defender, we touched on that being your endpoint protection that's included there with Defender for Business. Purview, again, we've touched on data security, data compliance, etc. that sits within there. Azure Virtual Desktop is something that's a little bit off the side, niche almost to itself. And if you are using something that's known as virtual machines or remote desktops, Azure Virtual Desktop basically allows you the access route to those virtual machines inside of Azure, or it would basically allow you to bring your own operating system. So by using a virtual computer in the cloud that you would access through your laptop, it allows you to bring your own operating system to that as well. By operating system, we mean your version of Windows to that system. And then last but not least, Microsoft Defender for Office 365 is included there, which is your email and collaboration security tool. So it's checking links that get clicked on, it's checking email attachments that get clicked on, and just ensuring that should somebody press something they shouldn't do, you are protected as a part of that as well. So really powerful tools there. There is a couple of little bits on that left-hand side as well. You'll see in there's mentions of Loop and Clipchamp that are in there as well. If you're not using them in your existing stack and you are licensed to use them, do suggest you check out Loop and Clipchamp, which are all aimed around project management and a bit like a Photoshop style editing for videos and things of that nature. So, you know, really, really powerful tools that, again, are included in people's licenses and they often don't know it's there. So, again, do check them out if you have their licenses for that. So strategic IT, simplification, so kind of taking things back a little step, shall we say, and just kind of going over some of the bits that we have already done, but, you know, talking about them in such a way that it is kind of tying it all up and bringing it all together for us here. So the whole point of the Business Premium piece is greater efficiency, greater scale for you all as well. So the cost saving aspect is brilliant, but that greater efficiency aspect in your IT operations is, you know, pretty priceless. So as you'll see on the screen here, it's all about reducing the complexities, reducing the overheads, enabling that faster onboarding and the offboarding of staff, and maintaining the security standards throughout that process. So when a new starter comes on board, they're secure from day one. When we offboard somebody, we know that the data that they've had access to during the lifespan of their time with the business, that data remains secure. That data is not going to get taken with them in any way, shape or form, because we have our Purview tools, etc. So again, we're stopping any potential data breaches as a part of that. The whole idea of this entire product set is it's easy to manage, it's cost effective, and it basically makes it so that managing your IT, whether you be doing that yourselves or relying on the team at Cobweb, is a lot more straightforward and a lot more simple. Again, reducing the complexity being the key word of the day there, shall we say, with this solution. And as one of the last but not least pieces here for you, we have a company called Tilt Brand Solutions, which is a Quotient Ventures it was previously. And this was a Microsoft use case that they put together with a business that was basically growing rapidly, but had very fragmented systems. They was actually buying, some people were using Google Workspaces, some people were using Microsoft 365. They had users that were on various different security solutions, such as, you know, some of them just had the basic Norton 360 that's included on the laptop. Others in this equation were using Microsoft Defender, like we've been talking about today. So it was really fragmented, really different systems, nightmare to manage, as I'm sure you can all appreciate. So the overarching solution here ended up being Microsoft 365 Business Premium, purely because it was what people knew. It was easier from a training perspective because they had more staff that knew Microsoft than anything else. On top of that, it was all of the advanced features and capabilities that it brought to the table that we've been discussing today, including the management aspect, which was a big part of this reduction of manual processes that they wanted to do. So implementation was they migrated over 100 users from various different platforms in just 2 weeks into Microsoft 365 Business Premium. That included bringing data from various different sources and bringing that all into a centrally managed location with SharePoint and OneDrive. They integrated a whole stack of devices. Apple device management was one of the big ones on here that they were doing using Microsoft Intune. But I know from reading this blog, etc., there was also a number of Windows devices, Android devices, and iOS devices as a part of this. So it was obviously a phased rollout for users. Strong user communication and planning was absolutely essential as a part of this implementation that was put together here. So the key benefits that they saw off the back of this was 40% cost savings by consolidating all of these licenses and reducing what was in a lot of instances hidden costs on some of the licensing that people were paying for. They improved their productivity due to standardizing the tools and the seamless collaboration via Teams, rather than using fragmented systems with some people trying to collaborate via Zoom and some people on Teams. It allowed them to get that standard set of tools for people to be able to share and collaborate, not just among one another, but on documents live as well. Collaborating on that PowerPoint from a marketing perspective or a sales perspective, a finance being able to look at all of those Excel spreadsheets simultaneously and collaborate across that document over, several weeks if needed. And then the scalable IT management. So with Intune enabling the faster device provisioning and troubleshooting, it basically meant that as they was onboarding new users, it was taking them minutes rather than potentially hours, or in some instances, even having new starters source their own licensing, which was what happened in a number of instances for this. So it was a huge turnaround for them, really big coup, enabling them to bring all of that fragmented IT systems under a single umbrella, and they got some really good benefits to this, as I'm sure you'll agree from what you've seen on the screen here. This is a publicly available blog, so if you are interested in reading a little bit more into this, I would just say give it a quick Google, Tilt Brand Solutions Microsoft, and that will come up on the Microsoft blog page, where there is a whole host of them around Microsoft 365 Business Premium and also around the Copilot AI solutions, etc. as well, if you are interested in looking at those a little bit further. So that's everything I had for you all today. I'm not sure if there's been any questions at all, so I will take a moment just to look at that.
I don't think there has just yet, James. So if anyone has any questions, please pop them in the chat. But thank you so much for that. That was a very deep dive into Business Premium and how it can help both business budgets and also primarily the security side of it too. We've got one that's popped in. So when it comes to budgeting with different licenses, which subscription model do you think is the most cost efficient, e.g. annual, paid, monthly?
Helps when I unmute, doesn't it? It's a really good question. So to be fair with you, the most cost-effective way of doing this is obviously an annual commitment with an annual payment method. That offers you the most significant savings. There is also the ability to do an annual commitment with a rolling monthly billing model, which is the next most cost-effective, followed by your monthly option, which is kind of like a rolling 30 days option. So it gives you that complete flexibility on, when you want to upgrade and downgrade and add users and remove users. So it's pretty flexible in terms of the availability, but to get the most bang for your buck, shall we say, annual commitment with an annual payment is the way to go for that.
Amazing, great, thank you, James. So I don't think we've had any more just yet, but thank you so much, everybody. If you've got any questions today, now, or further into the future, then please just get in touch with your account manager. just to let you know, if you are interested as well, we have got a Copilot security webinar tomorrow at 11, just talking about how to make your business secure and compliant when it comes to using Copilot, and also how Copilot is safe and secure with its own permissions inside as well. So yeah, get in touch with your account manager and they can send you the invite link for that. But thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.